Bonjour, welcome to day 6 of L'Hôtel de Ursay's mini tours of Mayenne, which we're doing during lockdown. I'm Vanessa Williamson and I'm standing in the back garden of our home here in Mayenne. And come the autumn and when the leaves start to disappear, we have a wonderful view over our stone fence. And we can see through to the back end of a really beautiful chapel that was part of a convent that was founded here from the, I think, around 1630s, and went on to evolve and become quite a significant landholder here in Mayenne. There's a wonderful story that comes from that convent and from this chapel about 3 miracles that have blessed Mayenne and still form part of the fabric of culture and society here today. So today we're off around the block and off to the chapel. We'll see you there. Voila, magic. Behind me is the chapel that was built by the sisters who were invited to come here to establish the foundation of a convent. They were invited here through a bequest in a noble lady's will, who was to provide money for them to build their convent and to provide income for the nuns. All did not go to plan, and although the initial payments were made and the nuns came and they commenced their life here, things did not go to plan. The money was stopped, and the bequest and the generosity of that will was made null and void. And that very early on, the nuns here in Mayenne were in trouble. A wonderful gesture of goodwill was made by someone who wanted to give the nuns something special. And this gesture of goodwill was a small carved wooden statue, dates around the 15th century. It's polychrome, painted in a number of colours of the Virgin. And it was installed in the main chapel here on the altar. And its fame grew and the story grew, and soon pilgrims were finding their way to Mayenne and to the chapel and to the sisters. And this results in donations, and this was the success of the convent. The statue goes on in Mayenne's history to provide other blessings to the town. And as we move through our journey, I'll tell you about those. This is one of 2 chapels that were here on the site. There was another one directly next to it up until the 1970s, and it's hard to imagine today this space, but it was derelict, and the town of Mayenne had to make a decision. It had so many historic buildings, historic homes, and they had to fund it, and a decision was made to demolish this one. And the process was so loud, this one was kept, and inside is a really famous timbered sculptural altarpiece that has put this building now on the national estate of France. I'm now standing in front of the 18th century doors that were added to this chapel, and there was another set added on the chapel that's been demolished. You can see from the scale of this, the wealth and the significance that this convent eventually had to Mayenne. But come the French Revolution, it was all over. Every single member of a religious house in France had to leave their convents as they were repossessed by the state. They either had to renounce and they were free, or they were put in jail. Most of the houses of the noble families in Place-de-Chevreuse, where we began on day 1, were repossessed by the state, including L'Hôtel de Ursay. And for a time, it was turned into a prison for women. And the remaining nuns who would not renounce their faith ended up at L'Hôtel de Ursay. And their destiny was to watch from the windows down onto the Place, the executions. It was a huge outcry from the people of Mayenne about the fate of the sisters from the convent. And an intervention took place and they received a reprieve. Several did lose their lives and are now still considered to be Catholic martyrs to the cause. So although we are just over there and it was just over here, the 2 places and the 2 communities were tied by a fate that's part of the history of France. We'll see you tomorrow.